Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the Hockey Think Tank community, a place where all passionate hockey players, coaches, and parents can go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on Paul Caufield, an unbelievable hockey guy. You guys are going to absolutely love this episode. And Paul grew up north in Canada. However, he is living down in Stevens Point, Wisconsin right now. He is the all-time leading scorer at Division III powerhouse Wisconsin Stevens Point, and he is an awesome hockey dad as well to a couple boys, Brock and Cole, who is a stud for the Montreal Canadiens right now. So unreal conversation with Paul here. Before we do get over to him, though, let's bring on the talent of the podcast, the one Jeffrey Jahu Lavecchio. Vex on vacation down in Florida. How are we doing today, my man?
Sunny and beautiful here. I'm doing phenomenal. Thank you for asking.
Spring's in the air up here too, brother. It's you know what? It's when the weather gets nice, you know what that means?
Summertime?
It's playoff time.
Playoff time. Yes, what I was going for. Yes, correct.
Speaking of the Montreal Canadiens, hot into the playoffs here under one-time podcast guest Martin St. Louis and director of skills there, Adam Nicholas, the big cat as well. So also goaltender Jakub Dobich. There's a Montreal Canadiens flavor on the Hockey Think Tank podcast here, baby. Let's go.
Name them the Montreal Think Tank podcast now. I mean, three guys who are connected somehow to the organization. I feel like, all of us.
Of course. Let's go. Hey, but playoffs are here, man. Playoffs are here. Who's your pick for the Stanley Cup winner? I know you've already thought about this big time.
Edmonton Oilers, Trent Frederick.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, let's go.
There you go. Okay. I got Colorado winning it all this year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a boomer bust pick, though, because their first round matchup is with Dallas, and I can easily see Dallas winning the Cup, too. So, they're going to beat the crap out of each other in the first round. So, I don't know, but I'm still going with the Avs. I think they got the two best players outside of McDavid in the world, McKinnon, Makar. Man, they're humming right now. So, yeah, we'll see.
Okay. Well, I'm going Oilers. What's up?
I love it. Awesome conversation here, eh? Paul, obviously he's a hockey dad, right? He has a son that is one of the best players in the world. Another son was a really good player for the University of Wisconsin. He himself was a stud of a hockey player back in the day, but he unbelievable youth hockey mind as well. He runs a rink up in Stevens Point. And just such good knowledge, man. Such good stuff. There are some things that he said that I will be implementing in a lot of what I do moving forward here. And I've gotten the opportunity to talk some hockey with him over the past probably 6 months or so when got in touch with him. And man, just a phenomenal hockey guy.
Yeah, there's some really, really cool ways of doing things. You guys are going to hear on this podcast that he implemented when his kids were coming up that I think are just absolutely genius. They also happen to be a lot of things that we talk about on the podcast. Weird.
100%, man. And that's one of the cool things, in doing the youth hockey blueprint that we do with the Hockey Think Tank is we take ideas from everywhere and implement them and teach them to to the people that we work with. And so that's one of the really cool things is I've learned, and I've said this on podcasts before, but I've learned so incredibly much from working with all these youth organizations and then be able to take all their great ideas and then spread them out to all the other people that we work with. And so some of the ideas, some of the things that he's going to talk about here that you'll listen to coming up, just mind blowing.
Really cool.
Absolutely mind blowing. All right, let's not take up too much more time then. What do you say? Let's head right over to Paul. But first, we do have some people to thank. First, want to thank our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all your coaching education needs. They got thousands of drills. They got whiteboard explanations and video breakdowns from high level hockey people. The ability to go in and draw up your drills, send them out to your team, make a drill library for yourself or your organization, because we have partnered with them to do an associations platform. We can get this for every single coach within your organization. So go to icehockeysystems.com today, check out that associations platform, and get IHS, baby.
Want to say thank you to Train Heroic. You guys know Train Heroic is the unbelievable app that allows me to work with so many players, teams, and organizations online. And right now you can go to training.gmbm.com to check out my 2025 off-season training program. I've already had a couple hundred players buy it, a couple different organizations reach out. Junior teams are going to be using it this off-season. But guys, my whole goal with online training is to make it affordable. Topher and I talk about how stupidly, insanely expensive hockey is. And my whole goal with this thing is that every single player can have access to very, very, very high level quality training for an extremely affordable price. And Train Heroic allows me to do that. So I cannot thank Train Heroic enough. Or you can go to my Instagram and just click on off-season 2025 training program. So thank you to Train Heroic for making all that possible.
Boom. Also want to thank Helios Hockey. Helios Hockey is an unbelievable product. It's a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads, and it gives you real-time data, real-time feedback on specifically your hockey stride and hockey stride mechanics. If you want to play hockey at the higher levels today, you have to be able to skate. One of the best ways to be able to do that is to get the right kind of data and feedback on your skating. So go to helioshockey.com today. And if you use the coupon code ThinkTank, one word, you can get 20% off your Pro Annual or Pro 24-month subscription. A couple other things really, really awesome about Helios Hockey. Number one, they have what's called a hustle score. And this hustle score is something that when you move, this thing lights up, and it can tell you basically how hard you're working out there, which the kids absolutely love. They also can compete with their teammates that have Helios as well on their movement and on that hustle score. Also, the game changer for me is you get your shifts cut up for you right after the game. So Helios, that sensor pairs up with whatever video you're using, and it can even be live barn, something at the rink that's going down there, and you get your shifts cut up for you right after the game. Talk about an unbelievable value add. If we had this when I was younger, I would have watched my shifts all day, every day. So go to helioshockey.com today. Like I said, that coupon code ThinkTank, one word, and get that 20% off your Pro Annual or Pro 24-month subscription. Also want to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is an unbelievable product. It is an end-to-end software solution that basically helps you run your youth hockey organization more efficiently. Just the operations gets timing cut in half. And so what does it do? First of all, incredible website design, really clean, really easy to use. They have registration for your season or for even little things like drop-ins or lessons or clinics in seconds. Really, really easy to use. Club scheduler, 5-star communication app to communicate with your families. Also things for financial tools and reporting, volunteer and facility management. This is a one-stop shop to run your youth hockey organization or rink. Incredible value add. So go to crossbar.org today. I know there are a ton of youth organizations that are switching over there to help their clubs operate. And just unbelievable. You guys know we really believe in the people that we are talking about right now. So again, go to crossbar.org, check it out. Also, thank you to all of our amazing supporters and listeners. We love you guys so much. It's why we continue to grind this thing out and bring on these amazing guests like Paul here. The only thing that we potentially ask for in return, totally optional if you want, but if you want to help us to spread the message of positivity in the hockey world, if you could share us with your communities, whether it's on social media or just directly with people that you know, interact with our podcast on social media or on your podcast apps. We're on every podcast app by shooting us a rating, shooting us a review, giving us some comments so we can get some feedback from you. It goes a long way to spreading the message through the algorithm. So people are searching for hockey podcasts. they can listen to us and we can get introduced to them. And we want to continue to spread the message and continue to live our mission of making the hockey world a better place. So thank you, guys. We really appreciate you. You are going to absolutely love this podcast episode. Just such a smart hockey man. So without further ado, here we go with Paul Caufield.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. He's up in beautiful Stevens Point, Wisconsin. We got Paul Caufield. Paul, how are we doing today?
Oh, great, Toph. How are you guys?
We are doing really, really well. So excited to talk to you here today. And just to introduce you to our listeners here, you're up in Stevens Point right now. You've been there for a long time, but was born in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, a great hockey town up in Ontario, and then moved down to Milwaukee when your dad was playing there. I think he was a player coach from what I read. Little Reggie Dunlop action. I like it. But if you can, just tell us a little bit about how you fell in love with the game. And obviously it's become a family tradition here, but when did you first fall in love with the great sport of hockey?
Well, with my family, I mean, it was kind of given. It was in the household, and my dad was playing hockey back in the old USHL. It was semi-pro, so he had to work on the side, but he was a player coach, and they won the USHL Cup, and I got a picture when I'm a little sitting in the cup, and all the guys took care of me, and I just loved the game, being around all those guys, and those guys really took care of me, and I just loved playing the game. My dad was my coach when I was younger too, and growing up in Milwaukee, it wasn't a hockey hotbed, but we knew each other well through hockey, and just it was a fun getaway for us. And moving from the Sioux, we fell in love with Milwaukee, and I stayed there most of my life through high school, and enjoyed every minute of it.
So how old were you when your dad won and you're saying you're sitting in the cup there? Because our listeners know, but I've got like a 6.5-month-old baby right now. So I'm just picturing my little daughter inside of a cup and how happy that would make me.
Well, I was born in 68, so it was 75. They won the cup.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was sitting in there. But, yeah, I grew up in Milwaukee, and I just played club hockey in Milwaukee, and my dad was my coach. And you played rec hockey and then traveled on the weekends to play with an all-star team. And, didn't really know much about the next levels. And Scotty Owens called me from the Madison Capitals as a senior in high school, and went and played a couple years there, and ended up going to college at Stevens Point and playing for Mark Mazzolini. So it all worked out, and, my path was set, and it was pretty enjoyable ride.
It's amazing how small the hockey world is. Like, you just throw out Scotty Owens and Mark Mazzolini right there, who are two legends in the college coaching game, which is just hilarious. But you end up going to Stevens Point, and after you were done with your career, the all-time leading scorer at Stevens Point, not a big deal, but also won 3 national championships. From what I read, 3 national championships, and then runner-up in one of them. So all 4 years playing the national championship game. And for me, Paul, like, I study this stuff and love talking about culture and like just great teams and things like that. And to win 3 national championships in the 4 years that you were there, what would you say was kind of like, I don't want to say what was the reason why, but what was it about Stevens Point at the time and the culture, that Stevens Point's one of the most storied Division III programs in the history of the sport. But what was it about that program when you were there that allowed it to be so successful?
Well, none of us even thought about Stevens Point or Division III. We all play Division I, right? So Mark Mazzolini, he was a great salesman, and he took all the guys that for one reason or another couldn't make Division I, and he recruited the older kids. So he was the first one that, kid that played 2 years in the USHL, he was taking a chance on them. And we had some kids like Ralph Barahona played in the NHL out of Stevens Point. We had a good tight knit of guys. And nowadays, like I said, we all get along. We still hang out and we still talk. And, we talk more about stories off the ice than we do on the ice. But we were a tight knit group. And I think that's one of the reasons why we won. And like our captain my freshman year was Tim Coughlin. Look at the career he's had. Wow. He's at St. Norbert, right? So everybody we had there was Mazzolini brought us all together, and he was the key component.
That's really cool. I feel like you obviously can't do it while you're in it, but if you did some sort of like a study on how much players kind of keep in touch once they're done, I would say there's probably going to be a direct correlation between like how much they keep in touch 25 years later to how successful that team was, when they were playing. It's and Vex, I mean, you got the Frozen Four this week. You got a bunch of your buddies coming down from Western. Like, that's what it's all about at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, it's so excited to see them all here. Picking up meathead Matty Claxon. I know he listens to the show, so I'm sure we're gonna fight each other in the car today when I pick him up. But yeah, I mean, that was the first thing I'm thinking. It's so funny, when Tope's mic cut out here a minute ago, Mr. Caufield's talking about hanging out with all the boys, going up to Montreal, guys you used to go to school with, and then we come. I didn't know that he won 3 national championships because I was like, oh wow, still hanging out with his buddies from college. Like, that's sick, teammates. Oh yeah, okay, they won 3 national championships. That's why Topher and I always talk about. When you do something special, you're going to remember it forever. I mean, Toph, had a reunion, what was it, 2 years ago for your Bantam national championship team? Like, there's nothing cooler than that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the things when I do my team building, particularly with the colleges, one of the questions I ask them is, in the room, I ask them, hey, if you've ever won a championship, raise your hand. And that could be junior hockey, maybe before in college hockey, youth hockey, whatever. And so typically in a college locker, when I do it with colleges, half the room will raise their hands. And then the next question I ask them is, okay, for all of you that have your hands raised right now, keep your hand up if that was the closest team you've ever been on. Keep your hand up if that was the closest team you've ever been on. And very few, if any, players ever put their hands down. It's like I don't want to say it's not possible because nothing's impossible, but like, unless you are a tight group, you pretty much have no chance of winning a championship at the end of the day. You could be a successful team because you're talented, but if you don't have that love, that brotherhood, that togetherness, that ability to put the we in front of the me, like, you're not going to do special things in a season. I don't think. Paul, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, we're all at different points of our lives. When we left, I mean, we had started families, and then we kind of see each other a little bit. But now when our kids are gone out of the house, we reconnected like we haven't missed a beat, and it's not the hockey you talk about. It's the hanging out, the fun stories you have about each other. And, it's the ripping on each other. Everyone can take it, right? You can take the harassment. And I took a lot of it, believe me, because I didn't go near a board. I just stood in the middle of the ice, right? So they all protected me. So I get that harassment all the time. But, hey, we were a group together and we won. And, we just have great memories together.
That's really cool. That's really cool. You're able to build kind of that family atmosphere with each other. But, as far as the Caufield family is concerned, obviously family's big in hockey. How does that, your grandfather, your dad, maybe not was your grandfather into hockey too up in the Sioux, or take
Not
me back
at
a
all.
little bit?
He worked in the steel mill at Algoma Steel, and he
Okay.
told my dad, "You go down." My dad went with the Espositos down to the open rink, and they learned hockey. And he never even once saw them play.
No kidding.
He was just working. Yep.
No kidding. But you talk about your dad and the success that he had in the game, the success that you had in the game, your two sons that played, and Cole's still playing. What does family mean, or what does hockey mean to your family? We're always really big on the importance of the building of life skills. And the best place to build life skills is at home, with your family. Right. And so, can you talk to us a little bit about just how maybe you used hockey, or maybe how your dad used hockey to really teach the life skills side of things? Because you can't be a successful hockey player without building those. Hockey can obviously teach you some things that can help you be successful in life as well. Were there things that you learned from your dad that you're trying to impart on your boys? Just talk to us a little bit about, in the family household, how that all kind of went down for you guys.
Sure. Well, a couple of things from my dad is he lived by a statement: once you're satisfied, it's time to quit. And he didn't get an education. He played up in Canada and didn't really get it. He wanted us to have an education. And he said, your goal in life is to give your opportunities to your kids that you never had, and have them be better people than you were. So if we continue doing that, our world's going to be a successful and better place. So my wife's a teacher, and it was around our high school, hey, you're doing your homework before you get to do the other things. And, that's going to be around longer than the hockey. We always thought that, we didn't even know where they were going to be in hockey, but it was always, we're going to this hockey tournament. Oh, we're going as a group. We're going together. Our teammates were important to us. We didn't use the hockey trips as a social hour. That wasn't us. It was more about the kids to us, to make sure the kids are having a good experience and they grow as people. And both our kids were fortunate enough to get, education out of it. And, that was my wife's side, as she was big on education. She's a teacher for 30 years, and we kind of fed off each other a little bit. So our family's tight because of it. Her dad is in the Football Hall of Fame in Wisconsin. So she was around sports and athletes the whole time. So my kids played football up until 6th grade, and he coached them. And that was a great experience too. So their family was tight with our family, and it all worked out together.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I think one of the things that you said, once you're satisfied, it's time to quit. So in doing my kind of prep for our talk today, I read an article about Cole at the NTDP. And in the article, it literally says the one thing that this is paraphrasing, but the one thing that my dad always said to us was, once you're satisfied, it's time to quit. So just really cool to hear you say that. That was something that was really important to your dad. And then that was a statement that your son said had a really big impact on them. That is so unbelievably cool at the end of the day. And as a new dad, I try to impart a lot of things on my kids that my mom and dad did on us. Vex had great parents as well. How does that feel to kind of hear Cole say that as something that had a big impact on them, knowing that it had the impact that it had on you from yours?
Yeah, it's super special. There's nothing wrong with quitting. You're satisfied, right? So if you're satisfied in life with whatever you're doing, okay, good. Let's move on to the next thing. Obviously, Cole right now, the way he plays and the way he carries himself is he's not satisfied. He wants more. And that's what I think driving him to be a better player. Because if you are playing in where he's playing in the NHL, if you're satisfied, someone's going to run you over or take your job, right? So makes me happy that he's still, using that.
Yeah. Or go ahead, Vex. Yeah.
There are ways that when he was young, you instilled those type of lessons and how important that is. Always, we have so many parents that listen to our podcast, and just anytime I hear things like this, because that type of lesson is going to translate to whatever you do in life. I don't care what we're taught, school, business, sports, relationships, things like that. Were there different ways that you were, kind of nudging that kind of mindset on?
There's only a certain point where they stop kind of listening to your parents. The same thing. He had an older brother that was really, he wanted to be like him. So that was crucial. They're 22 months apart. And he was always wanting to be with his brother, wanting to be, like him. And his brother was more of a direct, like, hey, let's do it this way. And he was more of the, okay, let's have some fun. Let's do this. And, they kind of fed off each other. And they're just like normal brothers. They're arguing and all of a sudden they're best friends. So a lot of it was him. Like I'd come to work at the rink and they'd go out in the ice, dirty ice, and they'd go out there and skate. I wouldn't be out there with them. They'd be doing their own drills by themselves. And they want to invite some friends. And all of a sudden they said, I don't want to invite friends. They're screwing around. We want to do what we want to do. So they'd be out there for an hour, hour and a half. I wouldn't even know what they're doing out there. And they wouldn't need me. So that's where I liked, them feeding off each other and being competitive. And at the end of the day, hey, you're too competitive, which I like, because you need that competitive drive in you if you want to be successful in anything.
Let me ask you this here, because this is something that a lot of parents or coaches will say to me, and I think I have a different take on it. You said he's too competitive. I love that. What did that mean? When he's younger, what did that look like?
It was, you had to separate them. Like Brock my older one was very competitive, and you had to calm them down a little bit. And I like that, right? Because you like them getting in a little argument and, be in the backyard playing baseball, and they'd get mad at each other a little bit. And you just like to more calm them down than pushing them. And I think the competitive spirits, we take that out in kids too early. You got to let them do that. It's okay to, get in arguments or, little shoving matches here and there and wrestling on the ground. And, they get in a fight over some toy or something like that. It was good. So I was glad they had each other like that. It was just it was a good thing to do, because once someone did something, the other one wanted to beat them at it. And I just like that. So like we'd play miniature golf. My wife would get mad at me because I'd always want to beat them, and they'd get mad. And I said, there'll be a time when they're going to beat me, so I'm not letting them beat me. So we'd play horse in the backyard or something like that. And I'd always beat them. My wife would be like, no, don't let them win. I said, not letting them win, because there's going to be a day like right now, he kicks my butt in golf. I don't like that now, but I used to do. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Because I'll have like a lot of coaches talk to me or parents talking about, so their younger son, like slammed their stick when they came back to the bench. I'm like, yes, we don't want them to break their stick, but I love that he's pissed off. That shows me he cares. That shows me he's competitive. And the same thing, like, I run a pretty big training business, and some of these academies will train younger players, and they're in line and like pushing and shoving and stuff like that. Not to where it's like too much, but I love that. I want kids to wrestle each other every now and then. I want them to get into it with each other. I even, I can't let this happen if it's not at one of my gyms, but even if they get in a fight, I'm like, okay, because then I'll teach them how to make up and shake hands like a man and separate it when it needs to be separated. But like, I love that stuff. And you're right. Like, school takes that out of kids. Get in a line. Don't step out of the line. You can't go to the bathroom unless you ask. Like, what? Like, I want kids to get a little bit more, into their animal brains here, a little bit more competitive. And I think we need to foster more of that and less of, kind of the wussification of our country. My own opinion.
Tell us how you really feel, Vex. Paul, I want to go back to something that you talked about, and you run a rink there up in Stevens Point, and you said the kids had access to it. One of the things that we talk about a lot, and even you and I have had conversations about this before, you mentioned how a lot of the times it was the two boys on the ice, just themselves. You're like, I'm not going out there. And that is something very much missing in youth hockey today. The kids are a lot of times way too overcoached. There's not a lot of unstructured play going on. And that's where you learn a lot of hockey stuff, is just trying things and figuring out and playing. You play hockey, you don't work hockey. And so can you talk a little bit about just how valuable that time the boys had on the ice with each other, just unstructured play, falling in love with the game. And I'm sure it wasn't just on the ice. I'm sure it was shooting pucks in the driveway or, playing roller hockey and stuff like that. And just how much you love to watch them do that and how much you think it helped them to become the players that they were.
Sure. So we have a rink where we have a lighting from outside that if they'd come with me and the night before, no one would do the ice. So my job would be to do the ice in the morning. Well, dirty ice doesn't cost anything, right? So they went out there and we didn't have to turn the lights on because we had lights in there. And I said, all right, you got to work for your ice time. So they would clean the locker rooms. They would do some cleaning for me to get that out of the way. I miss them because of that because I got to do it now again. But I use them a little bit by doing that stuff. And I'd peek out in there and see what they were doing. And they always doing something. They were always working on something, and they loved being out there. And what I liked the most is I had to go, hey, let's go. I had to get them off the ice. They didn't want to come off the ice. So that to me, I liked. I knew they weren't burnt out, because kids nowadays, they'll be the first one off the ice and the last one on the ice. I don't like seeing that. Then you need time away. Then baseball season would come, and we wouldn't go on the ice, and they would get that hunger back. And they love baseball. It's a different role for them. So they did that. So at the rink, it was a nice thing that they got away from me and away from anyone else. And they just worked on what they wanted to work on. And they played goofy games, hitting posts, hitting crossbars, shooting at cones, whatever they were doing. It was something unique and different. And they'd make up games themselves out there. So they entertained each other. And, a lot of it has to do with my older son that he kind of pushed him a little harder. And, they'd get underneath the other skin like that, being really competitive. So it was great for them.
Heard a little baseball in there, too. You guys know, listen, you know what I'm going to go after here.
I was going to say, you just teed Vex up. Here we go.
Thank you, Jess. Give me it. We are massive proponents for playing multiple sports. And, obviously, you guys all watch the son Cole play in the NHL and how well he moves. 100% part of that is because he played multiple sports growing up. No doubt in my mind. You have more tools in your toolbox from a movement and a quick thought standpoint and being able to use different skill sets as a human being when you play multiple sports. Like, please, guys, like one of the best players in the NHL. Again, another one of them here saying that their son played multiple sports growing up. They weren't 12 months hockey, 7 days a week. Like, you can get off the ice and your kids can still be getting better at hockey. Did your sons play any other sports other than baseball, or was it just baseball and hockey?
So baseball, I use baseball for a couple different things. I'm more of a baseball fan than I'm a hockey fan. I like watching baseball, and it's weird because baseball is slow, but it happens quick. So the focus you need is you're standing there playing third base, and the ball might not come to you for an inning, 2 innings. But then you have to be ready to make that split-second play. You have to do that. A lot of my kids were pitchers, catchers, shortstops. They were in the action quite a bit, but they were different roles. It wasn't like, if they didn't do their role, they weren't going to win the game. They weren't the best player out there. But they played all the way up through Legion Ball. So Legion Ball for them was fun. A few years later, when they said, I miss baseball, because they had to quit, maybe a year too early when they couldn't finish it out in high school because they had other things going. But then they played football. The reason they played football is their other grandpa was in the Football Hall of Fame, and he coached high school football for 25 years. He loved the game of football. We'd argue about football and hockey because hockey is organized chaos. He didn't understand that. Football, you knew every single person what they were going to do for that 6 seconds, right? So when they played football, they learned how to take a hit and slide off like butter because they were both running backs all the way through 6th grade. So it's tackle football, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. And after that, we said, okay, that's enough of football. We need to do that. But they learned a lot of great things through football. And doing that, it was a team sport, but individually, they learned how to take a hit because in youth hockey, we've taken hitting out of the game, which is okay to an extent. But when you get to Bantams, then you got to have a little courage. And if you see my son now, he's got courage. You don't have to be big, but you need courage. You need to go where you're going to get hit. The other night they were playing Florida and 77, that big guy, there was no place for him to go, and he had to take the hit. And I'm like, oof. But, he's taken hits before he understands how to at least brace himself a little bit on the hit. So those sports were kind of the most. Golf was too time consuming, and now all of a sudden Cole's a golfer now because he's got two things he need time and money to golf. So he's starting to be a better golfer. Yeah.
Absolutely love that. And it's right there. You can hear, this sport because of this sport because of this. Like, guys, expose your kids to more sports when they're younger. All right. Like anything that they can, any challenge, ninja warrior, jujitsu, wrestling, all of these different sports are going to do different things. They're going to help them later in life to be a healthy human being. Also find, what the outlets that they like physically doing so that they're healthy. But from a hockey standpoint, all of these sports will make them better at hockey. I literally guarantee it.
There you go, Vex. I love it.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Well, Paul, another thing I wanted to talk about, just as far as like the boys and their journey to kind of where they got to. And, obviously everybody knows Cole, but Brock was a really good hockey player in his day as well. Played at the University of Wisconsin. I remember coaching against him when I was at Michigan. Really good player there too. But one of the things, and we've had conversations about this, there's not one right way, not one right path to get to high level hockey, whatever high level hockey means to you. And your boys, both of them played high school hockey in Wisconsin, there in Stevens Point, and then played for Team Wisconsin. We live in a day and age right now where literally I will have 8-year-old parents emailing me saying, if my kid doesn't play AAA right now, I feel like I'm letting them down and their hockey career is over. But they're like, I don't want to pay $8,000, to play AAA when they're 8 and stuff like that. So can you maybe talk a little bit about, because you obviously have your boys, but you're also a very knowledgeable hockey guy and work with WAHA, Wisconsin Amateur Hockey Association, and see a lot of different things. Not everybody has the same path. Everybody's got a different journey. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to you, what you're seeing in today's game, and how you've kind of learned and formed your opinions on just kind of the youth hockey scene today as it relates to that?
Sure. Well, to me, burnout is a big factor in our game nowadays, but the only one that really knows burnout is the parents, and the parents have to be understanding you're only going to get better if your kid wants to be there. So we play the whole winter months, say in Stevens Point. You play with the same kids, have the same coaching. And if your kid wants to, we have a little spring session that you play in a couple tournaments, you practice a little bit with some other kids. And I said, this isn't tier 1, this isn't AAA. This is about a kid who walks in the hall, wants a little bit more, and can learn from different kids. And if your kid isn't walking down the hall ready for practice, he shouldn't be here. So that's what we're kind of installing in these kids is when I was coaching my kids growing up, I wanted the parents all to come to practice. And they looked at me like, what? I said, I'd rather you be at practice than at the games. Because if you just come to the games, the kid nowadays thinks, oh, the games are more important than the practice. If parents come and watch practice, they're all of a sudden the kids get excited. Hey, mom and dad think it's important. And I know they have other things going on, but my parents, when I coached my boys, they always come to practice. And I said, you learn the most. That's why when I go to watch my kids play, I like watching warm up because everyone's touching the puck. Everyone's moving. You get to see them on the ice a lot more. And I miss watching practices. I really, when I go back to Detroit and watch Cole, I want to see his skates, with all the guys, because I like seeing, Kyle Connor out there. You see his skill in just a normal setting is amazing, not in a game setting. So what we want to install in these kids is, hey, I love to practice. And that's our job as a coach. If they love to practice, they're going to get better in the games, regardless of what concept, what system they want. They love to be here. So in our sport, we really have to, it's got to be fun, but also the burnout factor. If you're dragging them to the rink, I don't like that, and that's kind of what we're having in our Wisconsin right now is we have too much hockey. So you have your winter season, you have a spring season. Then in the summer, these people are forming teams and playing. Now we have a fall league. Now you come back to your winter. There's just too much. And maybe one or two kids can handle that, but the other ones, it's FOMO. It's fear of missing out. If I don't do it, somebody else isn't doing it, right? My kids, they played baseball. They took a little time off. They played football a little time. And what I thought it created a hunger in them. Like next time they wanted to come to the rink, they were excited to be there. And that excitement factor is what we need in our sport now because there's way too many opportunities. When I grew up, the season was over. You had to do other things because there just wasn't the opportunities. Now there's so many opportunities parents think they're going to miss and it's going to hurt them. And no, I mean, big example out of Stevens Point is Joe Pavelski. As soon as the season was over, hunting, fishing, golfing until the season started. Never stepped foot on the ice. I think he turned out okay, right? Those things, are installed.
Yeah, a little bit too okay. He ended my junior hockey career in Waterloo, beating us in the playoffs when I was in Chicago, and then he ended my national championship freaking hopes with Wisconsin against Cornell. Freaking Pavelski. You're so right. And Vex, you remember this was like year one of our podcast. We brought on a guy named Reed Lowe. Reed had kids coming up. He was a tough guy playing for the Blues. Vex knows him pretty well. And one of the things that he said to us really resonated and we still use today. And that's kids don't miss the game anymore. Like you have to miss the game. You got to learn to miss the game, where August, September comes around and you're excited to come back to the rink instead of it's just another day because I've been doing this for 12 months in the year. And I think there's so much value to that. And you're right. Like burnout. I don't know if people understand how big of an issue burnout is becoming in our sport. And honestly, not just our sport. Like when you talk to people in other sports, because other sports are doing the same thing, like my freaking, you talk about baseball. My sister's got a 9-year-old and he was having, travel baseball practices in January when there's snow on the ground inside. And it's like, oh my God, this is kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, I think about even myself and I would put my passion for the game up against anybody else in the world. And I couldn't do that when I was younger. There's no way. I had to play baseball. I had to do other things. I had to get away from it. And kids aren't really allowed to do that. And also the parents feel like if they don't provide those opportunities for their kids, they're going to get left behind. And it's such a short-term view of it that it is actually hurting them in the long term. If you take a long-term LTAD, view of it, it's going to help them because the player that is getting all those reps in the summer at 12, 13, 14, yeah, they're probably going to be better than your kid in August and September. But come December and January when they catch up, and then 3 years later down the road when they absolutely love the game and the other kid doesn't like it that much anymore, like which kid would you rather have? The one that's burnt out and doesn't want to do it, but hey, he was good in the first 2 months of the season because he did all the summer stuff, or the kid that's still in love with the game. I see it all the time.
Yeah, and when people talk about burnout, the mind burnout too. The mind can burn out. Like you get all the way to, you want to be the best 17, 18-year-old because junior hockey, you get to, it's a grind. Every day you go to the rink, that's all you're thinking about 24/7, and your mind is just like, that's all it thinks about. You better love the game by then. But if we push it out of them by then, they're not going to have that grind capacity of, I got to play 2-3 years of junior hockey. And it's hard on kids nowadays to do that stuff, to get where they're going.
I would even say, Toph, too, like, talking about burnout. I'm seeing parents burnt out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember when I was younger, parents feeling the same pressure and stress. And obviously there's a lot of things that are different from when you and I were coming up. But, like, I just see parents, like, starting to, like, hate the game and hate being at the rink and all these things. But part of that is because you're at the rink all the time. If you stop coming to the rink for some of the year, you will like the game more. You'll enjoy being at the rink more. The parents on the team will be happy to see each other because you haven't seen them 5 days a week, every week, year round since your kid was playing AAA at 2. All right, like get away from the game a little bit. And like both of these guys said, like we always say in our podcast, missing the game is something you want. You want them to want to be back at the rink because they're going to work harder. They're going to have more fun. They're going to get more out of it.
100%. Well, Paul, let's transition a little bit. I want to talk a little coaching with you. You're a coach at the college level, coaching youth hockey for a long time and still involved in the game and coaching. We get the opportunity to get in front of a lot of youth hockey coaches, and we know a lot of youth hockey coaches listen to the podcast here. In your estimation, with the way that the game is going, what are a couple tips that you think are really important for youth coaches today in helping to develop players that that do have a fire and do have a passion for the game? The game is always changing. There's always little nuances and things that we can do better, things that we can do differently. What are some of the things that maybe you did, or some of the things that you're seeing with other coaches in Wisconsin, knowing so many of them and having an effect on so many of them that are doing really good things for kids that they're coaching today?
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer here, but the things that I did when I first started this job, I looked at, we have access to our rink. And right before the season, how do you prepare your kids for the season? And what I started was a 3-on-3 league inside of our own league. So nobody outside of Stevens Point could be in it. We had access to ice. So twice a week, we played a 3-on-3 league. But what I did was all the squirts, or all the 10 U's, we'd have 2 A's, 2 B's, and 2 C's on every team. And that was your six-person team, and you play against the other teams. And at first, my kids are like, why do I have to play with these kids? Well, what I think it develops is time and space. You have a kid who's now a lot of your capabilities, so now you have more time and space to think the game. The C kid then's got to hurry up and try and keep up, so he's getting better. And then you had to play against other teams that had A, B's, and C's on it. So it created more time and space for the A players, but then the C players had to catch up, and the B players were kind of fitting in like they have to do a little bit of both. And it grew our program that we ended up winning A, B, and C state tournaments growing up with the kids. And it was cool. A thing where most kids want to all play with the best kids. Well, this was a point where if you play with the best kids all the time and space is limited. Okay. So now you have to maybe slow down to let that C player get to that certain area. And I really think that created a little hockey IQ for our higher end kids in our program. And then we had a coach that he was an engineer, wasn't a coach, but he learned the game and he loved the coach. He would put the guys on a bench and go, next 5, you guys go. Wouldn't tell them what position they're playing. As soon as some guy comes off, next day I would come on. And they had to think about it. The parents are going crazy to see this, going, my kid doesn't know what he's doing. But they had to learn, they had to go out there and communicate with each other to find the right spot. Was he worried about winning games? No, he wasn't worried about winning games. He was worried about, and he didn't do this all the time, but a time where, all right, next person, you got to go play that position at 10 and 12. And I think 10 and 12 is where we got to learn more concepts about the game and more ways that they can understand their mind, because once you get to 14, the game is going so fast, you don't have time to create that hockey IQ. You're creating at 10 and 12, and there's more time and space. And if you always want to rush to the next level, you have to be the best kid in your team in order to gain the hockey IQ, because you're slowing the game down. Where a second, third liner, they're trying to keep up, and they're not gaining that hockey IQ. They're just slapping pucks around. So that 3-on-3 league was really beneficial, I think, to my kids and the whole program in a whole. And I was pretty proud of starting that, not going, oh, we have the best over here and we have the next best over here. And we all played together. There was no score clock. The only score clock is the kids knew, who was winning the game themselves. And it was a competitive factor there. They were competing against each other there. And we'd have different jerseys. Like I had the Nordiques, I had the Whalers, and I had the Scouts. We had all
nice
old defunct teams. And they had just the plain jersey, blue jersey said Nordiques on it, So they were proud of their teams and got them a little history, because I liked, teaching them, giving them homework about the game of hockey to get them to love the game of hockey. So like Christmas break, I would, buy a box of hockey cards, give them all a pack. And they were so excited to open it up. And I said, now you have a job. You have to write a report on one of those guys on their path, how they got to the NHL. So then they had favorite players they grew up with. So kind of little things like that I remember when I was coaching the 10 and 12-year-old kids. And, now one of them's being a doctor pretty soon. They're all doing well. And, the success stories of Cole was just in Nashville the other day, and two of his old teammates he played youth hockey with went to the games with their gals. And, just stuff like that makes me proud that, hey, they're still in contact with each other. So it was great. Yeah.
Man, we got to just take that 3 minutes and just play it on freaking repeat for eternity. Oh God, that stuff is so good, Paul. I think the first thing I want to touch on is the little 3-on-3 league that you guys did, because I've been trying to find creative ways in my head as we're working with these youth organizations to promote unstructured play, like dedicating a certain amount of time during a week or maybe during a month where the coaches just blow a whistle and throw the puck down and that's it. And the kids just go, because kids aren't playing on the pond anymore. And everything is so structured with skill sessions and all this kind of stuff. And you learn so much of the things that you were talking about, the hockey IQ and time and space, through just being able to just play. And that is such an awesome idea. You get different teams on the ice at the same time. One of the biggest problems that so many youth organizations have is a lot of kids and not a lot of ice. And this is something where you can get by putting the teams, maybe you have 3 different games going on, one in one end, one in the other end, one in the neutral zone. And you can get, I don't want to say 60, but you can get 40, 50 kids on the ice doing that at a time, and time shifts and stuff like that. So it solves some of the ice utilization issues, potentially gets more kids touches on the ice throughout the week, and they're having fun, and you're building a passion for the game. Like, man, Vex, that 3-on-3, like, that's something for all like the youth hockey directors that are listening right now, and people that have stake in youth hockey organizations. Finding a way to get some unstructured play into your routine of practice plans can go such a long way. And that's such a great way to do it. Vex, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's awesome.
I just love that you got the players to buy into that, that structure, and the parents. I don't know, like today, I don't know if that happens today. Like, I absolutely love that. I mean, I'm sure you hear it all the time. Oh no, my kid can't do this because he's got to go to this super scouted, heavily scouted tournament. How old's your son? 18? Oh, he's 9. What? What? Oh no, he can't play on this team. We're going to move our whole family 1,100 miles the other way so he can play on this team, so he can play on the best team with the best. Oh, but yeah, Cole Caufield was playing with B and C players. Oh, yeah, I guess that worked okay for him. Oh, and he played different sports, and he still is in the NHL, and he's unbelievable and ripping it up. Like, these things, I'm just hearing it. I'm like, man, would organizations allow this today? Are they still doing that ABC league right now, or no?
When I did it, I think I got the buy-in because my 2 kids were on the top of the scale at our program. So, okay, it must be good if they're doing it, right? But I forced my kids to do it because I said, this is what's going to grow the whole program. And in order for a successful program, you can't just have the top 1%. You have to have 3 and 4 teams to make everything go well, and the rec hockey of your coming together builds that camaraderie. But we throw in rules like, all right, you two, someone else, you can't score multiple goals same kid can't score multiple goals. You have to move the puck or do it to someone else, right? Or, these 2 kids can't score this shift. These 2 kids can't score this shift. So you're making kids move the puck, and you're making rules like that. But I was standing on the bench and you're telling these kids, all right, you 2 can't score the next shift, but you got to go out there and score. So it was unique. As the went on, I saw more and more parents. My kid's an A kid. He's got to skate with the A kids. It's hard to push that. But I keep telling people how successful, and I think both of my kids' hockey IQ had a lot to do with that. It was a 4-year process, 10U and 12U. Those 4 years we did it, and it was a 3-week season. Twice a week they go out there and they play. The Nordiques are playing the Whalers, then the Scouts are playing whoever the other team was, and they have a little league together with no score clock. But at the end, you hear them chirping, going, "Yeah, our team beat your team, and we're playing for first place." And there was no standings. There was all the kids talking about it. It wasn't anything else, So parents bought in because, they were putting on a different jersey. They were playing with a different one. we get so segregated from A, B, and C during the year that's a fun part of the whole organization's together. And we had other people from outside our area wanted to come in, and we wouldn't allow them. We said, nope, it's just our rec league we're having with our team, and we want to do it. So it really worked out well.
I think the other thing too, when you think about it, like, especially in today's kind of like hockey culture, let's call it, like, I can't imagine how many of those C players became B players, and then the B players became A players, because so often and at such a young age, kids get pegged, they get pegged, and he or she is a B player at 9. So we're going to treat them and their family like they're a B player. Like you guys are treating everybody the same. And the B kids are getting the chance to play with the A kids, and the C kids are getting the chance to play with the B kids and the A kids, and vice versa. Like so often, like, we miss out on late bloomers, and so often we miss out on kids that have natural ability to be able to be a player at a higher kind of level down the road, because we peg them. And I love that for that aspect too.
We come to be a status program now. Like, hockey's like a status. Like, I want to be on the A team, or I want, so do you want to be the worst A or the best B at 10U and 12U? You have to really think about that. So there's another thing that I did was, if you're coaching the A team, you're not evaluating it, but the next 5 kids, the last 2 picks for the A team, here's a group of 5 in alphabetical. You pick the 2 you want. And sometimes you want to pick the kid who is a hardworking kid, can handle being the worst kid on an A team, rather than the skilled kid who maybe would develop better on that B team. And I give the coaches the choice of, hey, you got to pick the right kid. And sometimes the best kid isn't the right kid for that last spot on that team. And a lot of times that best B kid, his confidence level the next year goes through the roof, and he passes a lot of those A kids. 100%. But again, we live in a status society where, I got to be on the best team, or, so I can throw it on Facebook and tell everyone I'm the best, and we have so many stickers on helmets nowadays, right? One thing I talk about as stickers is, all right, as soon as your season's over, I don't care what team you're on, the sticker comes off, and the next sticker, whoever you're playing with, that's the only sticker on your helmet, and I see a lot of kids with stickers on their helmets, and who are you trying to show? You're not showing you're a teammate. So Team Wisconsin does that, where they go back to their high school, right? So I get mad at the Team Wisconsin kids when they wear any Team Wisconsin apparel, anything like that. That's not your season. Your season's with your high school team now. That's who you should be a part of. So, yeah.
Love that. And Topher, we got to touch on the non-hockey guy, engineer, who's just throwing out guys different positions too. I mean, Paul, that's something we talk about all the time. We had an episode maybe 3 weeks ago where I was saying, like, I think kids should play every position other than goalie, after a certain age, but like all season long, like just throw them in different positions at different times. Yeah, you might lose a game here and there because of that. But is your goal to help your player be better at 10 or 12 or at 18, 19 when they're in juniors, college, like trying to get a scholarship, trying to make a junior team? Zooming out and adding constraints and these things that make the game a little bit harder for them, like the A versus, B and C, and you're not allowed to score, doing things like this is actually focused and purposeful development, right? And giving up something now to make them better in the moment and challenge them, that's going to pay off down the road. Delayed gratification, not caring about your kid making the brick tournament at 3 years old and caring later when it really matters, guys. You're making us sound really smart on this podcast. This is literally the stuff that we talk about for 6 years, man. This is awesome.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I got a group of 4 or 5 guys. One guy moved to Pittsburgh, but we'd go out to lunch once a week, and we'd be drawing up drills and stuff on napkins at lunch, and all of a sudden, then you look around, it's 2 hours later, you're like, I got to get back to work, But that group, that engineer was in that group, and he just loved talking, learning. But he had his own ideas. He thought outside the box and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, go ahead and do it. Do it. And, you're going to see different results from kids and, who can handle it and whatever. But stuff like that, I just love thinking outside the box with kids, because we get so structured at 10 and 12. And when you're structured, you take out that competitive bursts of, I got to get somewhere, I got to go, and you'd rather wheel them back than go tell them to stand somewhere. So those are good things that I like. To 10 and 12, I think that's where we really need to focus our hockey on. Because at 8U, we're looking at, okay, everyone's having fun, we're playing cross ice. The one thing I don't like at 8U is the coaches need energy, right? You can't just stand there and blow your whistle. You need energy. You need to get them all fired up and get them going, right? Get them going. And we don't have enough passion, energy guys at 8U. We need that.
Yeah. Well, Paul, you talk about thinking outside the box. Let me ask you this. Your wife's an educator. She's a teacher. I kind of tell hockey people this a lot. I'm like, if you want to be better as a coach, stop talking to hockey people. Go talk to educators. Like, go talk to teachers. They literally go to school for coaching. It's not coaching, it's teaching, but it's one and the same. What have you learned from your wife, like in terms of becoming a better coach, being able to teach skills, structuring your practices, planning your season out, things like that? What has she taught you that made you better?
Well, first of all, my kid's smile is from her, not from me. So when you see him smiling, he gets that from his wife or his mom. So she taught for 25 plus years, anywhere between third, fifth grade in there. And now she's a math interventionist, and she does one-on-one training for people that need more math. And that's, one of her fortes is math. But she comes home, and the work ethic she's got of, she's still got more to do. And teaching the work ethic, I think, is the biggest thing that about teachers is, they're never satisfied too. They got to make sure the kid is learning and progressing and getting better. And what she did with my kids with schooling was huge. I mean, education is part of the whole deal here, because if you don't have that education, that base, and all of a sudden you get to it, what's going to separate you from another kid, maybe going to a college is, all right, we don't have to worry about that kid in the classroom. We know he's got some things that are going to help him get through there. And her patience, being patient is another thing that, she is with kids. I don't know how she does it. I mean, I've seen a classroom and I'd lose it, because the kids, this kid's doing that, this kid's doing that. And you have to be patient. You have to bring them all together. And, teachers don't get enough credit for that, but, you're handling it. It's just like you have a classroom of A kids and C kids. You got to bring them all together. You got to be working all their different angles to see them. And, it is amazing teaching kids every kid's different, teaching them what their deficiencies are and working on their deficiencies. And that's another thing you can teach hockey players is, everybody's got different deficiencies, whether it's your skating, your stick handling, your shooting, your vision. You have to help them translate all the qualities, because you need them all when you're growing up, and skating's the number one. I mean, if you're a kid who can't skate, it's hard at the next levels, and you just need the edge work and focus on that. But the little details of the game, I think, teachers they focus on the details of schooling, and I think that helps too.
Love that. Well, I got one more question for you here, Paul. We are big believers in teaching passion for the game. And if your kid has a dream of doing whatever, it doesn't even have to be playing high level hockey. If they have a dream of doing anything great in their lives, the number one thing they probably need is a passion for it. They got to love to do it. Your dad played, developed a passion in you. You played, developed a passion in your kids for the sport. What do you think we can do as coaches, and what do you think that parents can do to really help to instill that kind of love for the game of hockey, where they are smiling, as you said, when they get to the rink, the rink rats? I look at the kids that I've coached and played with that have gone on to do really great things. One of the things you say about them is they're rink rats. They just love to be at the rink. How do you think you can foster an environment and develop and instill some of that passion in the kids that are coming up today?
We talk about either a drill or a concept or something on the ice, and every day you get a different kid that going, all right, you are in charge of the smaller A game today. You put the kids in charge, and they get excited about it, and they're hungry about it more, like, oh, it's my day, I get to do it. You get excited. And then the next day they're thinking, oh, Charlie's got this day, wonder what he's going to come up with. to get them, motivated to come to practice is a big thing nowadays, and keeping it different, not stale, but we have to change things up a little bit. So invite your kids to go, hey, what do you want to do in practice today? What do you want to do the next time? And have them take some leadership on what it's doing instead of the coach going, all right, this is what we're doing. I want to know what the kids want a little bit more. And then it's a little give and take and get that passion. And the other passion I think that kids need to do is they're on their phones and they see highlights all the time. Well, everyone in their area, like we have the college team right here in Stevens Point. I always tell them, hey, go watch a live game, sit there in the front row, field the game. And I want you to do a report on this kid. He's a defenseman. You want to be a defenseman? Tell me what he does right and wrong. You'd be amazed at what those kids, they can always critique a player, right? Oh, he wasn't doing this right. So that helps them bring that back. And you say, well, you told him he wasn't, so what do you need to work on? Even going to watch a high school game. If they're a squirt, going to watch a peewee game, going to watch that next level up there, and then tell them, hey, what did you learn from that game? What do you like? What do you think you need to work on? And have them look ahead a little bit and watch live hockey instead of on a TV or on a video game or something like that, and see it. I think seeing it live, like I was just saying 2 weeks ago, Wide's got his tickets in the front row. I've never sat in the front row. St. Louis was playing Montreal, and I'm sitting at the front row. I'm sitting with his dad and Grant Frederick, Trent's brother, and Alex Weidman. So we're all sitting in the front row.
So no fun was had. Zero fun was had with that group.
No, we had some fun. But sitting there,
yeah.
I was afraid for my kid's life because of the speed and the physicality sitting on the glass all that close. You're close to there. My kid's not a big kid, but I'm like, I had a lot more respect for the game when you sit right next to the glass and see how big and how fast the game is. Because when you sit up top, yeah, you can feel it, but right there, my goodness. And seeing a kid like, Holloway, who played at Wisconsin, he's starting to come into his own. I could see his face and how confident he was on the ice. And I think all he needed was a little confidence. His confidence, all of a sudden, wow, he's really come into his own. A kid like that who played with my kids in college, I knew he was a good player, but lost track of him a little bit. I saw that game, just watching his face, his expressions, just like he said, give me the puck. Without even saying it, you could see that. And that was great to see that passion of, hey, I'm right there in the glass. Wow, this is a different game right here.
You don't like hockey at all, huh?
I don't know how to play the piano. I blame my parents for never putting a piano in front of me, but they always put hockey in front of me. And, I love the history. I love everything. I mean, Mike Bossy, Joe Sakic. I mean, those guys, I had a passion of watching that type of player. But you got to give them someone, hey, who's your idol? Watch him and watch him and learn and stuff. And so I see my kid's fortunate enough he is where he is. When he shakes hands with a kid, he understands it, because when he was younger and doing the same thing with Joe Pavelski, when Joe came to our town and he was taking time with him, I mean, he's doing the same thing now because Joe did that with him. Just great stuff. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that goes such a long way. And most hockey guys are really good at that. Most hockey guys are really good at understanding that stuff's important. And by just shaking a hand or taking a picture, you are helping. That was the question, developing a passion like that. Yep. That's part of it right there. Well, Paul, this was so great. Thank you so much for taking the time. If you have a couple more minutes, we'll keep you here for 10 questions. That will do for the hockey community. But such good stuff. You're a great hockey guy. You're doing such great things for everybody up in Wisconsin continually today. And we appreciate all your time and effort with that. And we appreciate you taking some time to come on and talk some shop with us here today.
Well, thanks. I've been following the think tank long before this. I mean, I just like what you guys do too. It's great for the game of hockey.
Thank you so much. The NBA 82-game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for all the high-stakes drama, clutch moments, and draw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will they drop 30 points, 40, maybe even more? It's your call. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. New customers only, and bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.